Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be making this intro splash screen animation, and we're also going to make this landing page with the particles animation as well. So you'll see it's also responsive. When we go on smaller screens, for example, you can see we have this here. We could, if we wanted to, just decrease the strokes here, because that's a bit too prominent for me. So now this splash screen works on mobile devices really well. And there you go. So we have this nice particle animation. And yeah, intro splash screen. So I hope you enjoy, guys, and let's get going. Thanks. Okay guys, so to get started with this project, you can see I'm just going to create a brand, well, create it from scratch really. So I've got a terminal open. I'm just going to CD to desktop, or CD to your project folder, and then we're going to make a directory here. So make mkdir, and I'm just going to call this project particles, like so. And then if we CD into particles now, and I'm just going to open this up in VS Code with the VS Code extension here. And then in here, I'm just going to create an index.html file. We're going to go for a style.css, and then I'm also going to add a folder containing called JS. This is going to house our JavaScript files, and in here we're going to have one file called app.js, and then we're also going to have a particles.js as well. Okay, so if you come into our index.html first, and then the first thing we want to do here is I'm just going to say, let's get the boilerplate up and running, and then I'm just going to link to the style.css in the header, and then we'll just do a script source at the bottom of the body, and I'll just point this to our JavaScript folder and then the app.js. I'm also going to specify this as a module, so we'll say type module, and this will allow us to import the particles.js content as a module into our app.js file. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do here is I'm just going to we'll do a section. Actually, I'm going to we'll do this in separate. So I'll start off by doing the particles in the canvas first, and then we'll gradually progress. Okay. So the first thing I want to do in this section, I'm going to give this a class of hero, like so. And then coming into this section, we're just going to say we would like let's have a canvas in here. Okay, so say canvas, and I'm just going to give this a class of hero canvas, like so. And then come underneath here, I'm also in this section going to have a header as well. So come above this, we'll say header, and here we'll just say I think we'll give this a class of, actually no, we won't put a class on this. We'll just say header for now, and then we'll just put a container in here. So say container with div of a class of container, and then in here we'll have a h3, and I'll just put studio CB. This can be whatever you want to call your website, and then I'll also just say nav. We'll have a nav bar here, and I'll just have two little links for now. So we'll just say UL for an unordered list, and then an li for a list element that houses an anchor tag, and then I'm just going to say here home, and then we can come under this and we'll just say about, again, add as many links as you want. I'll just use these two for now. Let's just get this open with live server. So right click here, open with live server. That's an extension with VS Code. So if you want to install live server, just come down to, open this up a bit, extensions, and type in live server up here, and there you go, you can see it there. So just install that. So the next thing we want to do here is let's make this a bit bigger, and let's go back to our index.html. So coming underneath the canvas, next thing I want to do here is just say div, and we'll give this a class of main _ title, like so. Okay, and this will have a h1 in here. I'll just say again studio CB, and then also we're just going to say we'll do another h1 with we'll just say explore for now. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is we'll come underneath this div, and I'm just going to say we'll give a div a class of separator, and then under here we'll also have another div with a class of desk for description, and here I'm just going to add a p and put some lorem text in there. Okay, so we just have this basic lorem text. And I think that's pretty much it for our HTML. Okay, so let's just come into the style.css and we'll just do some initial styling before we go ahead and create the particles canvas. Okay, so I'm going to just select everything with the star operator here in our CSS file. Let's just change that to CSS as well. And then here we're just going to say margin of 0, padding 0, and box size in border box, like so. That removes all the default margins and paddings there, you can see. And then we're just going to say, I want to set the font family as well to just sans serif. That gives us a nice sans serif font. And then what we can do here, I'm just going to adjust the font weight. We'll say font weight, make it 100 so it's nice and light, like so. And then we also want to adjust the letter spacing just to bring the letters a bit close together. They're a bit spread out for my taste at the moment. So I just say minus 0.05 m, like so. That brings them a bit close together. Again, it's just down to personal taste. You don't have to do this if you don't like that. I'm going to set the text decoration to none. That will just remove the underlines from the links. And then we'll also just say list style of none as well. And that will remove the bullet points from the list items. And then we can also specify the color here. I just want to say white for now, just so we have white font. And then I'm just going to adjust the HTML body here, and we're just going to give this a background color of dark grey, so 161616 hex code. And then we'll give the body a width of 100%, a height of 100% as well. And that should do for now. So the next thing I want to do here is I'm just going to, let's go to the canvas now, just so you can see how that really works. So if we open up our particles.js file here, okay, so we'll come in here, particles.js. The first thing we need to do is grab our canvas. Remember, we created a canvas here, so where is it? Yeah, this hero canvas. Okay, so let's just select that in the particles.js file. It's a bit bigger, and then we can say here, so const canvas equals document.query selector, and actually we can just grab the canvas like so. So if we console.log canvas now, and what I also need to do here, so let's write this in the no, actually let's do this. So we just say import. We'll come into our app.js file, and I'm just going to say import no, let's make this easier. Okay, let's just point this to our particles.js for now, like so. So now if we come into our console in the browser, you should see that our canvas is highlighted there, like so. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do here, let's make this a bit, let's bring this over here like so. So now we have our canvas. We need to get a drawing context we can draw onto the canvas. Okay, so to do that, we just need to say const ctx for context equals canvas dot get context, and then we're just going to use a 2D drawing context here. Okay, so it's going to be a 2D animation on the canvas. Next thing we're going to do here, let's just delete this console log. We're just going to get a particles array, so we'll just say let's particles, and that's going to equal an empty array for now. And then we can just say another variable, we'll say let random speed, random max speed, that's going to equal, we'll set it to 5 for now, and you'll see why we're doing this. This is basically going to be, each particle on our screen is going to have a random max speed. Okay, and we only want it to be a maximum of 5, because anything greater than that goes pretty quick. I'll show you what I mean later as we adjust the animation for our particles. Okay, so next thing I want to do now is create a class of particle, like so. Okay, and then what we can do here is to say a constructor. So this will initialize our particle, so we're going to have like around, well, over 100 particles on our screen, so this will be each instance of a particle. And here, what the particle need is coordinates, so this will tell the canvas where to draw the particle on the screen, so we can say this dot coordinates equals, and we'll just say an object here, and we'll set the x coordinate, so where it should land on the x-axis, we'll say math.random, and here we're just going to times that by the canvas.width. Okay, so it'll be basically placed anywhere on the canvas on the x-axis, and then we can say the same for the y-axis as well. So we'll just say y here. Again, we use the math.random module, and then we just take the height of the canvas. Okay, so that the canvas comes with a width and height variable. So if I just console.log those for now, canvas.width, you'll see in the console here we have a canvas with a width of 300 pixels. If we just go to our canvas, you can see there, yeah, 300 pixels by 150. Okay, so that's what we're using there. We're just assigning these random coordinates for each whenever a particle is initialized, and then we can set this dot speed. So say this dot speed, and we need to set this for both, again, the y direction and the x direction. Okay, so vertical and horizontal direction the particle will travel, and here again we're going to use the math.random, and then here we can say if the math.random function returns a number that's greater than 0.5, then we can say we want, okay, so it's like a half chance. So if you just console.log math.random here, you'll see it always returns, let's just comment that out for now. Now if you come to the console, you'll see it always returns a digit that's well, between 0 and 1, so a decimal between 0 and 1. If I just refresh that, you'll see it's always random, and it's always, so if we set it to 0.5, this means it has half a chance of being greater or less than 0.5. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. So we're saying this dot speed equals if math.random is greater than 0.5, then we want to set this to math.random again, and then we want to times this by the random speed that we set up here, the random max speed. And then what we also need to do here as well is say times -1, so it goes in the opposite or the backward direction. Otherwise, if it's less than 0.5, then we can just say we'll just take this like so. Okay, so math.random times random max speed, and we then have to apply that negative times -1 there. Now we can do the same thing for the speed x, and that's pretty much it for the speed. So that's our constructor done. Now what we need to do here, we just need to create some methods for our particles. So we're going to say, well, one is reset. This is going to be triggered when we resize our screen. Okay, so say reset here, because then it will adjust the canvas size when we resize our screen, and we need to therefore make sure our particles fit within that canvas boundary. So we can say here reset, and again I'm just going to say We'll take this dot coordinates up here, and we'll just do the same thing there, like so. Okay, so now, actually what we could do actually is just, because we're repeating ourselves there, we could just say this dot reset. Okay, and that will apply the coordinates, because we're calling this function again. Okay, and now what we do under this is we're going to create a move function. And here, what we're going to do is say if this dot coordinates dot x is greater than or equal to the canvas dot width. Okay, then what we want to do is say this dot speed x equals this dot speed x times -1. So what this effectively means is when our particles travel across the screen, when it hits, or when it's greater than or equal to the canvas dot width, which will be the edge of the screen here, we're saying we want to reverse the particle so it will bounce back off. Okay, so it'll go in the opposite direction because we're using this -1. We're times it by -1. Okay, so we need to do this multiple times. So there's going to be obviously, if it hits the, well, you'll see what I mean now. Let's just do this. So if we copy this down, next we want to do is the y coordinate, and obviously for the y-axis it's vertical, so we need to set this to canvas dot height. Then we need to say speed y equals this dot speed y times -1, and then we also need to factor in when our particles hit the left hand side of the canvas and the top. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just copy these down again. And then here, what we need to say is if this dot coordinates dot x is this time less than or equal to, and we're just going to use 0 here, okay, because this will be the 0 coordinate on the canvas. Then what we want to do here is just say this dot speed x. And again, what we want to say is the same thing really. We want to times by -1, because if it's going reverse and we times by -1, it will turn into a positive number again. So I'll make it bounce off and go the opposite way. Okay, and then we want to do the same thing, obviously, for our y as well. So if you just say if that is less than or equal to, again, 0, then we can just say, again, this dot speed y equals this dot speed y times -1. Okay, so now that's done, now what we need to do is we need to loop through the particles array up here, which we're going to add some new particles. Let's actually do that now. So what I can say here, let's just create some particles. Okay, so say for let I equal 0. Oh, I'll do a for loop here. For let I equal 0, and we'll say whilst I is less than, we'll say 100 for now. Then we can say here I plus plus, and then here we're going to create a new particle. So we'll say let particle equal new particle. Okay, so this will create a new instance of this particle class that we've created. And then what we can say here is we just say particles, that particles array dot push particle. So now if we console dot log particles, you'll see we have an array of 100 particles here. And if we go into the first one, for example, you can see we have like the coordinates where it'd be aligned on the canvas, and it's been provided with a speed as well. So this one would be -2, so it'd go backwards on the x-axis, and it'd be plus, well, 4.2, so it'd be going sort of this direction, okay, because it's going it's a positive number for the y-axis and a negative number for the x, so it'd be going down here like so. Okay, so now what we need to do, we'll come underneath here, and I'm just going to say we'll do a for loop. We'll say for let I equals 0, and then here, not sure why, okay, this needs to come in here within the method, and then we'll say whilst I is less than particles.length. So we'll loop through the particles array, and then what we can say here next is we need to get the x and y axis or location coordinates for the particles. Okay, so we'll just destructure that from this dot coordinates. So we can say this dot let x and y equal this dot coordinates. Okay, that will destructure it from this object here. And then we can say if, and then we take the math. This is basically a function used to kind of draw a line whenever particles are near each other. So we use the absolute function here. We're using the math module a lot for this particles animation. And here we're going to say x. So we're going to take that x variable and we're going to say minus particles. So we're going to loop through each of the particles, and then we're going to take the coordinates for each particle, and we're going to take the x, and then we're also going to say here if that is less than or equal to 200 pixels, and then we're going to come out of this and say and the same thing for the x. So we'll take this math.abs again, and here we need to take the y variable this time. And then we need to take the coordinates.y. So what we're saying here is if we're going to take this current particle, and if it's currently within 200 pixels from any of the other particles in the array, then what we're going to do is draw a line. Okay, so we're just going to say ctx. So we're taking that context variable that we set at the top of the screen here, and then we can say ctx dot, and what we're going to say after that is stroke style. We need to set a stroke style here, and this is just basically the color that the stroke is going to be, the line is going to be. And here I'm using this hex test. Well, it's going to be like a transparent blue color. So say 03C0 FF25. Okay, and then under this we're just going to say ctx, and then to begin a line we say begin path. Okay, that's a method built into this ctx object, and then we can say what we want to do is ctx dot, we want to move to the coordinates of the current canvas or particle that we're on. So say ctx dot move to, and here we want to move to the x and the y coordinates that we've destructured here from this dot coordinates, and then we say ctx dot line to this time, and here it wants to take these the coordinates of the particles that we're close to, that this current instance of the particle is close to. So we'll say particles I line to particles I dot coordinates dot x, and the same thing for the y coordinate, and then after that we'll just say ctx dot stroke, like so. Okay, now then what we need to do is just we'll just need to move the particles within this move function. So to do that we can just say this dot coordinates dot x plus equals this dot speed x. We'll do the same for the y. Like so. Okay, now we need another function here, so I'm going to come out of that's it for our class particle now. Okay, so we have all our methods implemented. Now what I want to do, we'll come out of here, and I'm just going to say I want to create a function called set dimensions. So we'll say function set dimensions. Oh. Now here we're going to say we're going to reset the particles array. Okay, so I'll just say particles equals 0. So this is going to be called whenever we reset our screen size. Now we need to just do some initial calculations for our canvas just to make it look smooth. Okay, so we're just going to say canvas dot width, and that's going to equal, we're going to take the window dot inner width. Okay, and then what we also need to do here is times this by the window dot device pixel ratio. And the reason we do this is because if you're on a screen like a MacBook where there's a Retina display, you'll sometimes see that they have a high device pixel ratio. On this screen I'm using, it's just 1, but sometimes this can go up to 2. So we need to times this by the window.device pixel ratio in order to make our canvas animation clear. Okay, because sometimes if we don't apply this, then it can be quite blurry. The animation or the sort of resolution can go all blurry. So we need to ensure that we're using this device pixel ratio when we're adjusting our canvas width. We need to do the same for the canvas height. So say canvas.height. And obviously change this to inner height times window.device pixel ratio. Now we just need to adjust the CSS of our canvas. So we'll say canvas.style.height. And that's just going to equal, we'll set that to 100%. And that should be in quotes. And we'll do the same thing for the width as well. Actually, we'll change that to width here. Okay, now what we want to do now is we're just going to say I think we'll just say we'll just say because we've reset we reset our particles, so we can come under here and we just need to first just take the window.inner width, okay, because depending on the width of our screen will determine how many particles we want to add to the animation. So let's just get the width first. I'll just say let W for width equal window.inner width. Okay, and then here we can say let particle total. This is the total amount of particles we're going to apply to our screen. And here we're just going to take that width variable and we're going to say if it's greater than 1000 pixels, our screen, so we use a question mark here, this is a ternary operator it's called, it's like an if-else statement. So we're saying here, if the width is greater than 1000, then we want around 300 particles, else we'll just go for 150 particles, okay, because otherwise there's too many on a small screen. Then now what we want to do is we're just going to do a for loop and we'll just say let I equal 0, and whilst I is less than that particle total, I plus, and then we can create a new particle here. So we just say let particle equal new particle, and then we'll just say particles.push particle, and then we can just delete this down here. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's just call sets dimensions. Okay, so now you should see that our canvas, section, yep, our canvas is looking good. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to create an animate function. Okay, so I'm going to come underneath this, I'm going to say function animate. Okay, and then what we can say here is we're just going to get the CTX, so the context, and we're going to say clear rect. Okay, and then we can do 0, 0. So this is basically just going to clear the canvas. Okay, so from the top left 0, 0, and then we're also just going to say the width we want to clear. So we want to take again the canvas.width, and then we also want to use the canvas.height. Right, height, like so. Then now what we want to do here is we're just going to again loop for our particles array. So we'll say let I equal 0, whilst I is less than particles dot length, say I++, and then here we're just going to say again particles I dot move, and then also what I want to say here is we'll say CTX dot begin path, actually what we need to do is just destructure this. I'll just say again, let x and y equal particles I, and we just take the coordinates for the particle that we're currently iterating through, and then same move, then we say ctx.begin path, and then we want to add an arc, ctx.arc, and then we want to take the x and y variable, so the coordinate. So we're just going to create little circles for our particles, because we've only really got lines at the moment, so we're just drawing them here in this animate function. So take some y, and then a radius, we can just say, we'll give it a radius of 3 for now, and then a start angle would be 0, doesn't matter where you start, and then an end angle, we're just going to use math.pi. We're just going to say 2 times math.pi just to get the circle. Okay, and then we'll come out here and just say ctx.stroke again. Okay, and then we can request animation frame. And we'll just say animate in here. And if we call this animate function, you can see there's our particles on our screen. Okay, so if we just we need to obviously add an event list now just to make this reset the size, but there's our particles there. Okay, so that's looking okay. Now the next thing we need to do here, I think that's pretty much it actually. So what I'm going to say is I'm just going to move all of this code into our particles.js file. Okay, so let's just do that now. I'm going to copy this over, or cut this, and then we'll paste this into our app.js. And then I don't want to actually call any functions here, I just want to export some of these functions. Sorry, we also need to just do that set dimensions function as well, which we was going to create. So if we go to set dimensions, let's just delete this for now, and animate as well, we don't want to call any of these functions. And then what we're going to say here is export, and I'm just going to export the set dimensions function, the animate function, as well as the particles array. Okay, so now if we just I'll just save the app.js file as well. Okay, so now if we just point this to our app.js file, okay, so now that's pretty much it. So we've got our particles documented, well, our JavaScript file sorted. I don't think we're actually going to use this. Yeah, we'll use that for now. Okay, that's fine. So now let's just adjust our CSS a little bit here. So what we're going to say here, let's go back to our CSS file, and because we haven't really styled this at the moment, I'm just going to say we also actually we haven't added our splash screen or anything. So I'm going to come back to index.html for a second, and here I'm just going to come underneath the body, and we're just going to add our splash screen. Okay, so say splash _screen like so, and then here we'll have a div of a class of left for the left panel, and a div of a class of right for the right panel, and then we're also just going to have in the right panel a h1 with a class called percentage. This will show the percentage that our page will load for the intro, and we'll start it off at 0%. Okay, and then what we also need to do is come out of this div and add a progress bar div as well. So progress bar. Okay, that's it for our HTML now. So we have our splash screen that we're going to be using as well. So if you come to our style.css next, and come under here, I'm just going to set the h1 size say font size. I'll just give this a font size of 3 rem for big screens for now. Okay, so you can see that's got a bit bigger there. And then if we come under here, next thing I want to set is the hero. So say .hero. We called it hero, didn't we? Yep, so this for this section here. And I'm just going to say hero, position, relative. And we'll also say top 0, left 0. We give it a width of 100% and a height of 100%. The canvas, we're just going to set the canvas z index here to be 0. So say z index 0. And this will just bring it behind everything because we want our splash screen to appear in front of, and text to appear in front of the canvas. That's why we're setting that to 0. We should also do a position absolute on that just to make that work. So say position or relative. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do here is might have to change that later, we'll see how that goes. So I'm just going to come underneath here and we'll just say header next. So we'll get our header section, set this position to absolute, and then we'll just say top 0, left 0, give it a width of 100%, and we'll also just say a height of 50 pixels. Okay, so just so we can see what we're working with, the border bottom, 1 pixel solid red. Okay, and then, why is that? It's a bit more than 50 pixels to me. Okay, it's because it's down there. Why is that down there? Oh, it's because you have this splash screen. Okay, so we need to just, we'll adjust that later. Okay, so there's our hero, and then what we want to do with our header section is we'll just say display flex, and then we'll just say justify content, so we'll bring it to the center, and we also want to align items to the center as well. So we just come here, align items, center. Okay, let's remove that border, I don't need that. Now we want to grab the container next, so the container is in our header section and here as well. So we have a container there, and also, where's our header? Okay, yeah, so it's just this container. So we'll just say .container underneath this. And here we'll just again say display flex. That should bring the content of our container next to each other, like so. And then we can say, give this a width of 95% to space it out, or 95%, sorry. And then we can say justify content, space between. So that will give some nice space between our nav and our header there. Okay, so now come underneath this, let's get our nav list next, so our nav UL. And again, we're going to display this with flex to bring the links next to each other. And then we'll also just say, give it a width of 100 pixels. And then we can say justify content, again, space between, just to space out our links slightly there. Okay, so that's looking good. Now the next thing we want to do, we're next going to select our main title. So we'll say .main title. That's what we called it. So we can say main title. So it's targeting this part here. So the Studio CB and the Explore, these parts here. So when we grab the main title, what we want to say is position. I'm going to give this absolute positioning. We'll say top 0, left 0. Again, I'm going to say a width of 100% and a height 100%. I'm going to give us a padding top of 30 viewport heights. Actually, maybe 30%. Let's do that. 30%. And then also I want to display this with flexbox, so the flex again. And then also I'm just going to say justify content center, like so. So now once targets the do we have a subtitle here? Let's just make sure. I think I need to put a subtitle on this. Yeah, what we need to do in here, sorry guys, come into the main title. I'm just going to say .hero text div, a hero text div, and in here I'm going to add that Studio CB, and then also we're going to have another div in here with a class of subtitle, so say sub title, like so. And in here, I'm going to say H1, whatever you want, whatever your service is. I'll just use web development for now. And we'll also just add that explore H1 in this subtitle div, like so. Okay, so now coming back to the style.css, if we come under here, I'll say subtitle. Again, display flex. That brings the text next to each other, and then here we can say justify content again, space between. And then I also just want to get the hero text. Let's come above this. We'll just say .hero _text, and I'm going to give this a width of 95% as well. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do next is I'm going to target the separator. So we'll say .separator, like so. And then we'll give this a width of 100%. Give it a height of 1 pixel. And then we'll say background color of, I'm going to give a white separator here. So 3 Fs, and then 95 for a slight opaque or slightly transparent line here. You can see here's a separator, and then I just want to set the margin top to be 1 rem. Okay, so now let me just see where that is actually. The main title. Okay, this should be here. Okay, let's move that there. And also, so should this, we need to move this in within that div as well. So just move that underneath the separator. Okay, and right, so now that is within the hero text. I need to tie this up a bit, sorry guys. That should be under here, under the separator, like so. Okay, so now that's better. We just tied it up a little bit. Okay, so if we now target the description in the CSS, so we come under here and we'll just say .desk, and here we'll say position, absolute, say bottom, one rem. So move it to the bottom, and then we can also just say display grid. We're going to display this with grid. And I'm going to say grid template columns. And we'll just say here, I just want to remove the splash screen for now because it's kind of ruining the take that out for now. Grid template columns, I'm going to say repeat, use the repeat function, and we're just going to repeat one fraction unit 8 times. Okay, so you can see with our desk, we now have these 8 columns that are, the 8 fraction units of the screen width. Now what we want to do here is just target the p tag within that desk div, and we're just going to say grid column, and we're just going to span from the first div, we're going to make it span 3 divs, so we'll just say span 3, like so. Okay, and I just want to change the font size of this as well, so just say font size of 0.8 rem, so make it a nice small font. Okay, so that's getting there, it's looking okay for now. And so what else do we need to do here? I want to actually set that to 30 viewport heights, I think, so the padding top. And we'll set that. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so that's looking good. Now the next thing we need to do here is, I think we're pretty much nearly there, guys. We just need to actually sort that splash screen out now. So if I just uncomment all this out, and then we can come underneath here. So underneath the desk P, and then we'll just target the splash screen next. And here I'm just going to give this position of fixed. And then we'll say top 0, left 0, width 100%, and I'll just say a height of 100% as well. Okay, and then we just want to give it a z-index of 10 to bring it in front of everything. Okay, so now we shouldn't be able to select anything because that splash screen, if we just look at our console, you should see now that the splash screen is pretty much over the whole lot. So you can see here splash screen. So now underneath this, we're just going to say, take this splash screen again, and then when we're going to apply a complete class using JavaScript, what we want to do here is we just want to set the pointer events to none. So that means we'll be able to interact with the content underneath the splash screen. Okay, so now underneath this, next we want to do is target the left panel, and here we'll set the position to absolute. So left 0, top 0, set the width to 50% here, and the height to 100%, and now this will take up half of our splash screen. You can see there, that left panel is taking up half of the splash screen, 50%. And what I want to do here is set the background color. So the background color to that grey, and then we'll also just say border right, and I want to give this a border right of 1 pixel solid. Actually, no, we don't need to do this. Let's leave that for now. And also, we just want to say transition, and then transform 1 second. So this will be the animation time when we slide the panel off to the left of the screen. Okay, and then what we can say here underneath this is left, remove all this, and when we apply the active class to this div, then we'll say transform, we'll say translate x, and we want to translate that by minus 100%, and then we'll just set the border right be border right to 1 pixel solid white, like so. Okay, and let's just do a similar thing for the right. Just copy this left active down, change these to right. And here, obviously, just need to set the left to 50%. Okay, so our right is now covering up the right hand side of the screen. That's all the same. And all we need to do for the transform here is take off that minus because we need to translate to the right hand side, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we just need to do the progress bar, so I'm just going to target the progress bar here. We'll say dot progress bar, and here we'll set the position to absolute again, and I'm going to say bottom of 0, and we'll just say left 50%, and then we need to transform and translate this as well. So I'll say transform, just to center this perfectly, say translate x minus 50%. So if I set the height to 50% for now, and we'll set the background color to white. Let's set the width as well. So we'll just say a width of 1 pixel. Okay, so there's our progress bar there. Let's just come off this. See how that's 50%. Okay, so now what we also want to do here is I want to change the transition. For the height, when we adjust the height with JavaScript, we want the animation for the height to be 1 second whenever we change it. Okay, and then we'll say dot progress bar dot complete. So when we apply the complete class, we'll just set the opacity to 0 so we can't see it, it goes transparent. And then what we need to do now is just target that percentage. So we say dot percentage, so that's this text up here, this h1 with a class of percentage. And what we're going to say here is position absolute, and then we'll just say bottom 0, like so, and we'll just say left of 1 rem, just give it a bit of space between that and the progress bar. Okay, now let's just do finally some media queries here. Actually, we can do that after. Let's just go to the JavaScript now just to get this progress or this animation working. So come to your app.js file now. Now the first thing we need to do in our app.js file is get all of our imports sorted. So we can say import, want to import the set dimensions from that particles.js file. And we also want to import animate, like so. Okay, and then what we want to do after that is just get some selectors. So we'll say const splash screen. That's going to equal document dot query selector, and it was just that splash screen. So we'll say dot splash screen, and then we'll say const splash left equals document dot query selector dot left. Okay, same for the right. Just change this, and then we want to grab our progress bar. So I'll just say progress bar here, and that was just dot progress _ bar. And what I want to do actually is just change this to height of 0% for now, because we want to start off at 0% obviously. And then finally we just want to get that percentage as well. So I'll just change this to percentage, and we'll change this to percentage. Okay, now we're going to set the loading variable here to equal true. So this will be when we first open our page, the loading will be true, and this will just allow us to animate this splash screen and then take it out of the viewport when we're ready for the user to view the site. And then I also just want to add an event listener here, and for when we resize, then we're just going to call that set dimensions, which we imported from this particles.js file. Remember that set dimensions, what that does is it just readjusts the width of the canvas and then refreshes the particles and pushes them to a new array. Okay, so that's that done. And then what we want to do here as well is just say set dimensions as well as animate. We want to call that animate function as well from the particles that we imported. And you remember what that does is it just clears the rect and then moves the arcs, and also just applies the move method within our class instance, which is here. So it moves all of the particles along. Okay, so that's that done. Now what we want to do now is we're going to create an asynchronous function. So we'll say async. No, we don't need to make it asynchronous actually, we'll just say function setup. Oh. Setup. I'm going to call that for now. Let's just it would help if we also spelled dimensions right. I've just noticed that's going to bug me, so let me just change that. Dimensions, and then that should, let's remove the T and remove the T. Okay, so functions set up. So we're going to have a few timeout functions in here. Okay, so the first one, this is just to kind of make it seem like our website's loading. I mean, you could use this if you was querying APIs or that kind of thing, but for now we'll just use this way. So I'll just say set timeout here. And I actually want to copy this down. This should be timeout, not interval. Timeout. Let's copy this down a few times because we're going to have around 4 timeout functions in this function. Like so. Okay, now in the first set timeout, what we're going to do here is we're just going to set the progress bar dot style dot height equals, and we'll just say 40%. And we'll give this a timeout of 2 seconds. Let's just call setup for now. Okay, we've got an error. So what's happening there? Oh, okay, it's the export, it's not working. I need to change that T as well. Okay, so now you can see we get that nice animation to 40% after 2 seconds. Okay, so that's working. So now the next thing we need to do, we'll come to our next timeout, and here we'll set the progress bar dot style dot height to 80%. And we can do this after 4 seconds this time. Oh. So after 2 seconds it'll go to 40%, and then it should go to 80% after that. And then we can set for the next one, we'll do 100%, like so, and we'll change that we'll make that 5 seconds. Okay, so we get that nice animation, and then after 5 seconds it'll go to that. And then finally we want to do this one, so there's a bit to this last one. We'll just say 6 seconds, and here what we're going to do is we're going to say splash left dot class list dot add. We want to add the active class. Remember, when we add the active class to the left panel, it transforms it on the x-axis like so. Okay, and you give it that border right as well. And then we want to do the same thing for our right. So I say splash right class is to add active, and then we want to do our progress bar as well. So we'll say progress bar dot style dot add complete, and with that our progress bar changes the opacity to 0. So now you'll see when we get that. Okay, that shouldn't. Okay, that should be class list, not style, sorry. Okay, but we're not. Why is that? right panel. That should be border left, sorry. Okay, let's try again. That's looking better. Okay, now what we want to do is, I think that's pretty much it, and then we just want to set the splash screen .class list .add. We want to add complete as well, just so we can interact with the content underneath. Because remember that when we set it to complete the splash screen, it sets the pointer events to none. So that means we can interact with text underneath now and click on links, that kind of thing. Okay. So now the next thing we need to do is, we're nearly there, is just we need to do that percentage tracker next. So I'm going to come underneath here and we're just going to say function percentage tracker, and then what I want to do here is I'm just going to say let height and top, that's going to equal the progress bar dot get bounding client rect. This will get the dimensions of our progress bar, and then we can just that takes the height of the progress bar and the top. And then what we can do here is we're just going to work out the percentage that this has gone up on the screen. Okay, so we can say let p for percentage equal math.ceil, and here we're just going to do some brackets in there. We'll take the height that we've just grabbed, and then we can times that by window.innerHeight. This is how you work out the percentage. And then come out here, so we can times that by 100. Okay, and then what we can do after that is we can say percentage dot text content equals that. We'll do backticks for a template literal here, and then we'll put in that p. That should be a $sign. Sorry. Percent. And then, so what we're doing here, the math.ceil just rounds it up to the next whole number. Okay, that's what we're doing there. We're getting the percentage, and then we're just rounding it up with this math.ceil function. And then we also just want to say percentage.style.transform equals, and then we're going to translate on the y-axis, and then we'll just say calc. So use the CSS calc function in here, and then we're just going to say top minus window dot inner height. Okay, and then we can say pix, and that will just move the percentage up with the scroll bar. And then here we can just say request animation frame percentage tracker. And then what we also need to do here is we just want to do this while it's loading, because we don't want this to be running all the time when our website's running. Remember, when we actually, I don't think we did. Yeah, we want to set the loading to false here. Okay, so when this will only run whilst the loading is true, which we set up here. So we can say in this function, if loading, then perform all this, otherwise just leave it. And then we can just say percentage tracker next. So I'll just say percentage tracker here, and now we get our percentage moving up with our bar. Okay, so now if I uncomment these two up here as well, I'll move that T. And there you go. Now one thing I don't like, I think there's probably too many particles on here, so obviously change it to your own taste. Let's just move that to, I don't know, 200 for now. Yeah, let's just say 100, maybe 150. Again, it's all just down to your personal taste really. They probably need a bit more than that, I'd say there, but that's how you kind of get that particle and an opening splash screen working. You can see now whenever we change our screen size, we get the particles adjust. And one thing I did want to do actually is just do a quick bit of just make it a bit responsive. So we can say here in our CSS at media screen, just do only screen and max width 600 pixels. We want to just target the H1 here, and I'll just say font size of 2 rem, and also I'll rem. Yeah, we'll do font size of 2 rem, so that's a bit smaller. And then also we'll get the main title. We can say padding top, say 20 viewport heights, like so. And then also we'll take the subtitle, and here we can give it a height of 100 pixels. And I also just want to say flex direction column to bring that Explorer underneath. And then for the description, the paragraph, we can span that across more columns because it looks a bit crunched up there. So I'll just say grid column, and I would say 1 will span 6 this time, so that spans out a bit more. And then we give it a just slightly smaller font size as well. Actually, no, we don't need to do that, that's fine. So yeah, there you go. This works well on mobiles as well. So if we just come here, and again, what you can do as well is obviously if that's going too fast for your liking, you can also always change the particle speed. Remember we set this random speed up here, so if you set that to 1, you can see the particles are moving a lot slower now. And likewise, if you set that to 100, you'll have particles flying all over the place. So, I mean, it's all down to personal taste obviously, but that's a bit too fast for me. So let's just change that back to 5. And yeah, I wasn't going to show you mobile device, so let's just come here, change this to a phone, iPhone 12. Okay, there you go. I've checked this on my phone myself, it does look good. But there you go guys, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.